Here, Carl Miller just finished a championship fight with another championship fighter. He's in the locker room to shower and change clothes. However, Billy Lowe, played by Bruce Lee, is in the locker room waiting for him. They stare at each other, trying to size each other up. Lee attacks with the kick, Miller counterattacks with the kick. Miller continued to attack with punches and kicks and gets lucky and land one of his kicks. Miller continues to attack with kicks and punches, and his time lands a punch. Then Lee counters and lands several kicks and punches. And now, it's going down inside the locker room. The two continue to fight it out. Miller lands a nice roundhouse kick to Lee's face, then punches him, knocking Lee to the floor. Lee gets up quickly, retaliating. Lee kicks Miller into the door, alerting the people outside the door celebrating Miller's championship victory that something is definitely going on inside that locker room. Yeah, Carl Miller is getting his ass kicked. Miller tries to unlock the door, but Lee quickly kicks his hand. Then Miller catches both of Lee's arms and kicks him in the back. Lee uses his underhand to grab Miller's wrist and does a forward flip that results in kicking Miller in the chin with both feet. Then Lee let loose on him with a one-leg double kick to his body and his head. Lee does a sideways thunder kick that knocks Miller inside the locker. Lee enters the tower with 3 levels known as the Game of Death. Bruce enters first floor. Dan Inosanto attacks with sticks. Nunchaku battle. First floor, Filipino weapons, Master Dan Inosanto. He attacks with the scrimmage sticks quick, fluid, and precise. Lee has a weapon of what seems to look like a long piece sharp plastic rod. Lee taps the floor, then quickly hits the Filipino across the forehead. Owen's out. The Filipino looks very angry about getting hit across the forehead. Lee hits his opponent on the hand, making him drop one of the sticks. Bruce grabs his own nunchaku, and the clash becomes electric. It's rhythm versus rhythm until Bruce's speed and timing overpower his opponent. This fight isn't just cool, it shows Bruce adapting on the fly, a key part of his Jeet Kune Do. Right here is when Lee demonstrates many different movements with his nunchaku's weapon. They go at each other with their nunchakus. The Filipino works his nunchakus, then Lee pulls out his nunchakus and works them with some fancy moves, then hit the Filipino across the face. Ouch! The Filipino opponent is sizing Lee up. The opponent is thinking, what can I try next? Because nothing seems to be working. I must take this guy down. The Filipino gets lucky and hit Lee across the face. Start bragging about it, but quickly regrets it when Lee pops him in the mouth with the nunchaku. The Filipino opponent, played by Dan Inosanto, come to realize that he cannot beat Lee, no matter what he tries. Lee finally realizes that he can use just regular Jeet Kune Do to beat this guy without using his nunchakus. The Filipino opponent tries to work his nunchakus. However, we can obviously see that he has no moves compared to Lee. Lee just uses his Jeet Kune Do and do a nice roundhouse, hitting the opponent in the face. Lee displays some fancy and cool movements with the nunchakus in his hand. Lee does another nice roundhouse kick using both legs, drops the nunchakus, and gets up in a fighting stance with both of his fists. So, Lee uses the nunchakus to break his opponent's neck. He has more stairs to climb and levels to complete. Second floor, Ji Hanjae Hapkido Master. Opponent, played by Jihan Jae, a grandmaster of Hapkido. Style, Hapkido, known for joint locks, throws, and circular motion. The second level features a more restrained and traditional setting. The Hapkido master waits calmly, displaying discipline and control. This battle contrasts the first, it's slower and more tactical. The opponent attempts to use joint manipulation and circular throws to overpower Billy. The fight becomes a battle of leverage and balance. Billy, recognizing the emphasis on redirection, counters with his fluid Jeet Kune Do techniques, breaking through the rigid structure of Hapkido with adaptability. He eventually outmaneuvers the master with a series of feints and well-placed strikes, sending him to the ground. These two just battle it out for a while with kicks, punches, and throws. The opponent, played by Jihan Jae, a grandmaster of Hapkido, lands a few kicks and punches, and Billy Lowe, played by Bruce Lee, lands a few throws, kicks, and punches as well. Lee grabs the opponent's leg but ends up getting kicked in the face. Of course, Lee returns the favor and kicks the Hapkido grandmaster in the face also. Okay, Lee is saying to himself again, it's time to end this fight. Both men are tired. The Hapkido grandmaster lunges toward Lee. Lee ducks and blocks his punch, then auto-counter with a punch to the stomach. Then Lee bend down and grab his opponent's leg and lift him high, then back down across his knee, breaking the back of his opponent, played by Jihan Jae, a grandmaster of Hapkido. Lee finally goes up to the last level. Lee seems to be looking at a 9-foot man. Good lord, he's tall. Top floor. The final boss, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 7'2" and deadly. His reach makes it almost impossible for Bruce to get close. Bruce takes damage and tries to get close to the giant, but a swift kick to Lee's chest, leaving a huge footprint, puts Lee to the ground. Lee attacks, then Kareem reacts and attacks back, knocking Lee to the ground again. Lee is really out of it this time, trying to quickly gather his thoughts, because this time, Lee just got knocked the fuck out. Ouch. So, at this point, Lee and Kareem exchange a large variety of kicks and punches. Both are hitting their opponents. Lee has a Jeet Kune Do move that seems to be very effective against this giant. He swings a punch to Kareem's stomach, then immediately swings a punch to his face. He tries this combination over and over again, proving its effectiveness. And one time Lee adds a kick to it, knocking Kareem down to the ground. Kareem has never had to fight this hard to win a fight, but this guy here is wearing Kareem down. Kareem is breathing heavy, which is an indication that he's very tired. But it's in his DNA to not give up and keep going. Kareem punches Lee and knocks into the paper windows, which lets in the sunlight. Right here, Lee Jeet Kune Do is putting a good old Chinese beat down on Kareem. Now Kareem is getting knocked down to the floor. However, Lee watches, studies, and spots a weakness for Kareem. And that weakness is light sensitivity. Lee adjusts his position, creates glare opportunity, blinds the giant, and strikes with precision. It's not brute force that wins this fight, it's brains, observation, and precision. Lee put Kareem in a brutal tight headlock and walks the floor with him. Kareem tries with all his might, but he cannot break the headlock. Lee finally breaks Kareem's neck, completing and finishing all levels in this game of death.